We just got our last update before FNCS starts, and we got some big changes. We have the new Superman POI. Is it good? Are any of the big teams going to be dropping there? We had the fall of Supernova. Supernova has changed. Is it a big nerf? And is Clicks going to leave the drop spot now? We also had some big changes to some of the weapons. The new Island Medallion is way stronger. I also want to talk about the results of the Eval Cup, the last tournament before FNCS starts. Mongrel not making finals. MrSavage making finals, but struggling. Pete is very much back, dropping a 52 kill win in the opens. There is a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Let's kick off talking about the update first and then the Eval Cup. So the update, the big one, the Superman POI. Is it going to be the big mythic POI? Are all the top teams going to go? Is Pete or Poyo going to go there? It might be MrSavage's new drop. No, unfortunately, it is exactly what we've been talking about for the last few weeks, and we predicted it is a good drop. If it was in the middle of the map, it might be maybe like a top 5 drop, potentially, maybe, but because it is on the edge of the map, it is basically a top 10 at best, probably more like top 15 drop. It is really not that solid. There is not that much loot inside it. At least it does have some different areas around it. They've added some kind of like factory kind of rooms. So it does get you max material. At least you're going to get 555 wood, brick, and metal, which is nice. But like we talked about, unless there was going to be some kind of rift or an insane mythic or medallion or something, where it is on the map at a high competitive level is just not worth dropping there. There is absolutely no storm surge potential. You're going to get absolutely farmed in any major lobby. So again, not the worst drop on the map. There's going to be at least, a decent team that goes there, but it's not going to be this huge mythic POI that takes Pete or Poyo from Doom's domain, Demon's domain, for example. So if you guys want to drop there and try it out, tell me I'm wrong. It has only been one day. I've only seen a little bit of gameplay from there, but so far not a single pro has tried to switch their drop or claim it. So the pros are definitely agreeing with me. But as always with these kind of POIs, there could be something secret and super overpowered about it that I just don't realize yet. But as far as pros moving, hasn't happened yet. Next up, the fall of the Supernova Academy. Now, I'm pretty proud of this one because I've been predicting this for a few weeks now, and I ended up being correct. A lot of people freaking out that the fall would mean it's going to be like in ruins, it's crumbled, and it gets destroyed. I've been saying it could be like the fall in the sense that Daigo overtakes it, and it could potentially make it better, or at least it won't make it worse. And that's exactly what happened. And no, I don't have a mole on the inside. I don't have leakers. I was just pretty confident on this one, because why would they then add a cool new POI to the game and then just ruin it a few weeks into the season? So that's what's happened. Daigo was like overtaking it. There's a bunch of rocks and spire areas around Supernova, but for the most part, it's exactly the same. All the loot is still there. It is still an extremely overpowered drop. There are actually reports that it got buffed. There are people saying that it has a Rift Island spawn right above it now, and it also has a chance of getting one of the big spires for extra loot. Now, I haven't been able to verify this. I watched the Eval Cups today, and I didn't see it happen once, but it's a pretty small sample size, so there were quite a few people who told me this. I don't know why they'd lie about it. It's the internet. Kids like lying for attention, but it seems like a weird thing to lie about. So either way, Supernova is either as good as it was, or it's even better. It definitely has not been nerfed. A POI that was nerfed was, of course, Kanata's. And I say Kanata's, Crime City is obviously dropped on by a lot of different pros around the world, but there is just something about Kanata that every single time there's an FNCS, I swear the Epic team get together in a boardroom and think about how they can ruin or at least nerf Kanata's drop. My man has had some of the worst luck with POIs of all time. If you guys remember, back when he had the infinite crossbow medallion, they completely nerfed that into the ground. He picked a new POI the next day. It sailed off into the sunset. Now with the gold river is now gone at Crime City. It isn't the biggest nerf Kanata's dealt with. It shouldn't mess them up too much, but all the gold rivers around the map are now gone. So at Crime City, when you used to be able to step in the gold river and farm material really quickly and rotate around, that has now been removed. So it's not the biggest nerf in the world, but it is just enough where it's kind of funny that it happens to Kanata yet again. I don't think it's going to completely ruin their strategy. They haven't removed half the loot from the POI, but I thought at least was worth mentioning if you're a team that drops at Crime City or around Crime City. Something that got quite a large buff is the Island Medallion. Now, I saw this one. Someone showed me a video of how the new Island Medallion works. Basically, instead of jumping now when you go invis and kind of going more vertical, now you go more horizontal. It kind of like launches you forward. And when I first saw a video of it, I was like, this looks kind of like cool, but in some scenarios it could be bad. If you're going for like a high ground retake and you try and sprint jump out the side, it'll mess up your movement. So I was like, look, it's good in some scenarios, like if you're trying to rotate the zone, you want to sprint jump, but even then you're the only one in your team who gets it. Your other two teammates won't have it. So I was like, it's not really that good. I was very wrong. I'm happy to admit I was completely wrong. And I know that for one reason, and it's because I just watched Peterbot drop a 52 kill win in the finals of Eval Cup against Div 1 players. Now, if you're interested in that video, I'm uploading on my React channel. It might be up by now. You go check it out if you want to, but Peterbot made this medallion look insane. I don't know how he mastered it so quickly, but being able just to jump and kind of have that floating forward momentum was just enough to give him some insane angles in fights. People just don't expect you to be able to jump and go over the cone and then come behind them that quickly. And then you're also invisible on top of that. You can't take fall damage. It means you have basically infinite stamina. It felt like watching Peterbot when he was playing in the Nitro season, or even last season when he had Crime City loot and he had the kind of medallion that let him just run around the map at insane speed. When he was running around the map at that speed and no one could run from him, that was when it felt like Pete could just absolutely W key. And that's what this medallion does now. Obviously, there's other mobility items in the game, but ultimately, Pete will eventually catch up to you because he has something that makes him even faster. Now, I keep saying Pete. Of course, Pete doesn't get this every single time. It is the island medallion. Anyone can go for it. I only just watch Peterbot kind of use it the best. So I think a lot of pros are going to adapt to this. I think a lot of pros are going to use it, and it's going to make the island a lot more fought over. So it's very cool to see this. I love strong island medallions. They are one of my favorite things. I kind of want to go back to the Shogun X when you had the infinite sprint invisibility medallion. That led to some of the coolest clutches all time. I absolutely love that medallion. So super happy that Fortnite's buffed this one. I'm not really entirely sure why they did it. They didn't say anything about it. There was no patch notes for it, but hey, the island medallion's like honestly a lot better now, especially compared to the start of the season when it was terrible. It's now received 2 buffs, so maybe they buff it again before grand finals. Who knows? We also got a random like surprise buff to the shockwave pistol. Instead of shooting like a small shockwave on the first and last bullet, now it shoots like a full-size shockwave. Like the explosion's much bigger. Don't really think it's a buff in any way. If anything, it kind of maybe makes it a little bit worse to use because you're launching people even further away now, but I thought I'd at least mention it. There are also a couple bugs. There was bugged dash sprites. When you got the dash sprites, you just couldn't use the dashes. That has now apparently been fixed. And another bug that hasn't been fixed that is frustrating a lot of people is you cannot pop meds while jumping and sliding anymore. You can pop them before and then jump, but while you're jumping in midair, you aren't able to pop them. It's a little bit of a weird one. I'm 99% sure this is a bug. I don't think this is deliberate, but in case you feel like your meds were kind of being really strange, that is why. The last thing in the update is a little bit weird and it has people super excited. I talked about how I thought there was going to be some kind of a Squid Game Cup. There was going to be a return to reload cups for the Squid Game update. That's why we had no cash cups. I was so excited. And then we had leaked in the game files about a Squid Game Cup. Fortnite has now announced it. And unfortunately, it is just the console victory cups renamed. They're not a separate tournament. I reached out to Assyrian. They checked the game files for me. It is exactly identical to the console victory cup. It's just now named the Squid Game Cup. So it's all the same requirements. You can only play on console. It's the exact same format, and it doesn't even take place in the reload game mode. It takes place in the Battle Royale game mode, but is named the Squid Game Cup, despite the fact the Squid Game update is in reloads. I have no idea what's going on with cash cups right now. I really hope that this is just going to be a bad memory and Fortnite just removed the solo cash cups and all the other cash cups because of cheaters, and now they've, they're suing a bunch of cheaters. We now have even more cheaters who've come out and had to make public statements because they have been sued by Epic Games. So I'm hoping cash cups come back next season and this is all just a bad memory, because I swear Fortnite is almost deliberately messing with us at this point. There's no way we got Squid Game tournaments and they're not even a new tournament. It makes no sense, but that's what's happened. There is a little bit of hope for those of you guys who are hoping for some tournaments to be added this season. We now have the new FNCS skin and the FNCS pickaxe being leaked, and they look really sick. The skin is kind of like meh. I'm not super fussed, but you guys might like it, but there will be most likely a tournament for it. But the pickaxe, it is a Star Wand FNCS pickaxe. Fortnite knows what they're doing with this one. They know a lot of people are going to want this. Now, you're probably hoping for me to announce what's going on with the actual OG FNCS pickaxe. They gave the codes away for at the Pro-Am. I still have no idea what's going on with that. My theory was the fact they were going to wait until FNCS starts and then run a skin cup for that pickaxe, and if you don't win it, then you can buy it, because that's what they made it sound like they were going to do after the Pro-Am, but that hasn't happened. So at least if you're waiting for that pickaxe, hopefully you're going to get a chance to win the Star Wand FNCS pickaxe or the skin. So we should see Fortnite announcing some kind of a skin cup in the next couple weeks, because FNCS is taking place today. FNCS is starting now for the play-in, so they don't have a lot of time to announce this tournament because FNCS is done and dusted in less than 3 weeks. All right, let's talk about the Eval Cup, our first tournament back from the summer break and our last tournament before FNCS kicks off. This is our last chance to see how our teams are looking heading into FNCS, and unfortunately for NA, We didn't get to see that. The opens were fantastic. They ran as normal. Like I said, we had Peterbot dropping a 52 kill game. Acorn's team started off struggling, but brought it back in the end. Clicks was absolutely dominating. Muzz was popping off. It was super exciting to watch. Then it came down to the finals. Pete versus Poyo. Everyone was gassed, and it just didn't work. Finals just never happened. All 4 games just completely bugged. They never started. Fortnite said nothing, and we're all just left waiting. I streamed the whole 2 hours sitting around waiting for each game to start, just hoping we'd at least get 1 game of a set lobby tournament to see before FNCS, but nothing. And this isn't the first time this happened. Because it's been so long since tournaments are out, I just forgot that the Eval Cups on NA have basically never been working. They either just don't work at all, or a couple games work, and Fortnite just says nothing. They don't reschedule it. They don't run at a different time. They just pretend it didn't happen. Like, we didn't get any word during it. And I know what a few of you guys are going to say, Aussie, it's an evaluation cup. They're evaluating. And trust me, I get that. If there was a crazy bug with an item or a crazy bug with something, I'm happy Fortnite's evaluating it. But there's 2 parts to that. Firstly, it worked on EU, which is before NA. Why does the tournament always only break on NA, and why is Fortnite unable to fix it? And secondly, if we're going to evaluate it, there has to be someone on at Epic evaluating. And if they are, they've at least got to give us some kind of a heads up on what's going on. We can't just get no communication and the same bug keeps happening, because clearly they're not evaluating it because it's still broken. So I get it. Fortnite's just been on break, but it really does feel like when we only have 1 tournament a week right now that isn't FNCS, surely it should at least work or be somewhat of a priority. So Fortnite, I don't know if you're listening, you're probably not, but please, you got to help us out here. Everyone was so excited. Everyone got on. They gave their time for it. We had Malibu in my chat. It was 6 a.m. and he just wanted to play some Fortnite. So unfortunately, I can't tell you who played the best in finals on NA. I can't tell you how Pete vs. Poyo was looking. Now we got to wait for FNCS because there was no NA finals. EU, on the other hand, we got to watch, so I can at least talk about EU. Now, a lot of our big teams did make it to the finals. Venom made it to finals. We had MrSavage, Fredoxy, Queasy now playing with Swizzy. Swizzy's back from Russia. He is now playing. A lot of our big teams made it. We were missing 1 team, Mongrel. Now, I've been told that Mongrel has been hard grinding during the entire summer break. I haven't really been getting up at EU times. I've mostly been covering NA content, so I can get a bit of a sleep in. I don't want to wake up at midnight to watch scrims. Sue me. But I've heard Mongrel has been locked in, and they looked really good in the opens. It came down to their last game. They got a 2nd place. If they'd won it, they would have qualled, and they did troll it a little bit. And I don't think it was Mongrel's fault. I don't want to point fingers. I think Hydro and Kaido potentially weren't really the quickest to respond to Mongrel's height take. He then went down. They took height as a duo. Kaido dropped down to frag out. He went down and they lost the game. If they won that game, I think they would have qualified, or at least would have been very close. And Mongrel was looking solid. If you're a Mongrel fan, don't panic. They were looking good. Their vibes were good. After not qualifying, he got on, kept playing creative, kept grinding, and was like, look, I think we played well today. It is what it is. I absolutely love Mongrel's mentality right now. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see them in the finals, but they did well. MrSavage, on the other hand, had a really rough start. He was not on pace to qualify until they won their last 2 games in a row to clutch up the qualification into the finals. So let's talk about the finals. 4 games. If you win a game, you make $1,200, and we had 2 of them. 2 games being won by Fredoxy's team. So Fredoxy at uncontested Supernova is obviously a recipe for success. Also getting another 3rd place. So 2 wins and a 3rd place has Fredoxy as one of the best teams on EU right now. Again, it's a Victory Cup format. FNCS will be a little bit different, but our FNCS runner-ups from last season are looking extremely dominant this season as well. The other 2 wins went to some names that might surprise some of you guys. I feel like Refscard, Mumsy, and Skyjump probably wasn't on a lot of people's radar, but I love seeing this trio. I love seeing the French players play with a non-French player, only because we haven't really seen a lot of development in the French scene for a while now. This is potentially going to be a French land with no French players, and that would be really sad. So I love seeing Mumsy and Skyjump play with someone like Refscard with insane experience. He got a 7 Elim 5th, 13 Elim win, and they went down early in 2 of their games. And then we had Vidil, Cringe, and Volko, who, while contested at Outpost, managed to get an 8 Elim win, a 7 Elim 4th. Then they went down once on spawn and another game in the mid game. So those were the 4 wins. So there are some big teams missing. So Veno's team didn't get a win, but they got a 7 kill 5th, 10 kill 3rd, and 10 kill 3rd. Very, very solid from them. We had Shark's team getting a 4th, 10th, 2nd, and 9th. We had Mixon getting a 2nd, 4th, 9th, and 15th. So a lot of the teams we expected to normally do well did do well. They just couldn't get a win, but a few of our big names have been struggling. So firstly, Vanya, Pixie, Marius getting contested over at Flooded Frogs, and they only managed to make it off spawn healthy in 1 of the games. They got a 6 Elim 6th, and that was their best game. Now, We obviously have our Demons Domain fight on EU. We've been focusing so much on NAP versus Poyo, but during the summer break, we now have a new contender at Demons Domain, and it is Queasy. So Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache. We now have Swizzy back from Russia, like I said, going up against Malabuka, and it went 2-2. Pingwalks and Malabuka won 2 games off spawn. They got a 4th and an 8th. And then Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache won 2 games off spawn, and they got a 7th and 11th. Now, this drop spot is actually supposed to be triple contested by Podesai's team as well, but Podesai didn't make finals. It is worth mentioning Gentlemates just announced they've signed 2 new players, Malabuka and Ping, which means Gentlemates now have 2 players on every trio at Demons Domain. Nikov is making sure a Gentlemate team walks out of Demons Domain by signing almost every player at that spawn fight. It's got to be a bit awkward, org mates all going at it, but it is what it is. Now, there's one big team I'm not talking about here. I talked about them in the opens: Chap, MrSavage, and Rezon. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to talk about. They got a 0-point game across all of it. They got 1 elim. So I know it's a victory format, but they got 1 elim in the entire finals. A 1 elim 23rd, 0 elim 28th, 0 elim 31st, 0 elim 28th. Just a brutal performance. A couple of the games, they went down twice on spawn at the resistance base. Then the other 2 games, they got, one of the other games, they got third partied. One of the other games, they split it, got out, tried to take on Veno in a mid-game fight for their surge, and got put down by Veno. So it was a very, very unfortunate finals for MrSavage. And again, a lot of people are asking, is this team going to split? But FNCS takes place today. There's just not amazing players wandering around that are looking for teams. So this team's vibes have been sold, like we've talked about. They don't really seem to have the chemistry in game. They're struggling to bring it together, but we know this trio is good enough on paper. They're 3 phenomenal players. They just got to figure it out. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very rough FNCS. Now, it might be surprising. A lot of you guys may not know this. FNCS is taking place today. Remember, this is the play-ins. You have to be in Division 1 to play. The top 99 teams from day 1 and day 2 combined are going to make it through to the group stages on the major regions like EU and NA. All the other small regions, it's top 66. They only have 2 groups. So this is teams' chance to make it straight to group stages. If you don't make it through this to group stages, you then can play in the last chance qualifier. Those of you guys watching from home who aren't Div 1, that is the only round of FNCS you can play. But all the pros will be queuing this one up, and we'll see if who can get top 99. It should be easy for most of the top teams, but there is always a few big teams that seem to just crumble under the pressure. So it should be exciting to watch. And if you guys want to watch, swing by my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Aussie Antics, or I'll be live on YouTube watching along as well. Come catch all the action. It's going to be a fun time.